Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about from shedding to regrowth, navigating hair loss with psoriasis and alopecia areata. With that and more here at the Hair Wire. And welcome everyone. Welcome to the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, alongside with Carrie Jared. How you doing, Carrie?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. Halloween is right around the corner.
You got the Halloween spirit all over.
Oh, I do. Look, my Halloween earrings. Aren't those fun?
Show us the mug. You also had a mug, right? A Halloween mug.
My Tim Hortons pumpkin mug. See, it has my little Timbit coming down. We like Halloween here where I live. Yeah. So, and I even have my water bottle to check that out.
Yeah, the Halloween spirit all over.
Oh, all yeah. Right, you got haunted houses everywhere. It's awesome.
I mean, it's a fun season, though. You know, you have to have fun. And kids love it, and everyone, have fun. So, hey, have fun at home, guys. Today we have a very special show, but before we wanna say a few words for Biz. Biz, come home, we need you. I know today the babysitter was not having it, so hey, things happen, but we miss you, Biz, and hope we can have you next week with us. Today we're going to be talking about again a particular case that I was working with a few years back, and this is a very particular case. Someone who was experiencing psoriasis, and the psoriasis was so bad in the scalp that she was experiencing a big hair loss and with tremendous shedding. And the thing is that the pattern kind of resembles Telogen effluvium, like this diffuse type of alopecia, but at the same time it was kind of like localized, so it kind of resembles alopecia areata. So it was in the top, it was on the sides, and it was a whole mess. It was kind of scary at the same time, but this woman, she hung on, and she was resilient to the process. She committed, and boy, did she had great results. Have you ever seen anything like this, Carrie?
No, I have not.
It's one of those crazy things that you get to see, like, what is this? And you kind of wonder, because it's one of those things that kind of breaks the rules. It's one of those exceptions to the rule kind of thing. So you're wondering, am I doing this the right way? Am I treating this person, properly? Because you have a couple issues at the same time, and you want to make sure that you're doing right and you're doing properly care of this patient. And so let me just show you guys, because I'm excited about this particular case. So we see this picture, right? And there's this lady, and we see the picture on the left, right? And what you are seeing that looks very white is the psoriasis. But of course, we see the hair that is missing because we are seeing through the scalp. So the thing about this type of psoriasis is that, it was so bad that the inflammation was causing a vasoconstriction. So by reducing the amount of blood nutrients to an area, basically what we are seeing is a type of Telogen effluvium. But then again, it looks kind of patchy in a way. So let me show you another picture of her from the sides, and you see the temples area, all that hair that is receding, and the same thing happened on the other side. So it was happening at both sides at the same time. So it kind of made me wonder whether I was actually watching a alopecia areata or not, because usually with alopecia areata you can get spots in one side but not on the other. But if you're having the same spot on both sides at the same time, you're kind of wondering. And because of the diffuse type of scenario that we were seeing, that kind of gave me the idea of a Telogen Effluvium. But then again, um, you were watching this uh, thick scale on the scalp, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Tell me what you think, Carrie. What you're seeing right now on the pictures on the left.
Yeah, I honestly, with the, I would think right away alopecia areata, but then of course you said it's the same pattern on both sides, so it's very curious, right? And to see the difference in the hair growth that she got from it, I in the area where it's in the temple area, I would right away my gut instinct would go to the hormone issue, because usually hormones are within this area, right? So instinctively I would do that, but then seeing the top, then I'd also consider thyroid. But from the picture too, it's hard to see the psoriasis. So there's a lot of confusion.
I know, that's a funny thing, because some cases can be quite a mystery, and whenever you are seeing a client for the first time, it's like you're peeling, a onion. You go layer by layer by layer, and you try to figure out what's happening, and that's the beauty of what we do here as trichologists. We're investigating, and through a proper investigation process, we are able to basically get what's happening, understand what's causing this type of hair loss, and through the proper evaluation process, we finally we come to a conclusion, and because of it, we are able then to provide a treatment plan to help people who are suffering from this many things that are causing different types of hair loss. So definitely, it was something that caught my attention and really got me going. And I was I kind of stumbled upon it, um, because you have to realize you don't get to see things like this on every day. And because more commonly for me, I see a lot of androgenetic alopecia, and I see a lot of Telogen effluvium. And because I'm in the Caribbean, most of my cases kind of like resembles the same pattern. So people that come to my clinic, usually they are suffering from sebum related issues, because again, we are in the Caribbean, we have lots of humidity, lots of heat, and we kind of eat the same thing. Not so healthy thing. We like the fried food. We like the Puerto Rican cuisine, very rich in starch and sugars. So you kind of get a similar pattern with the group of patients that come to your place. But whenever you see this particular type of cases, you will always wonder, what's happening here. How did it come to pass? And with this lady, what we were seeing is that she was experiencing first this type of dandruff, very thick dandruff all over her scalp, right? And she had experience with her psoriasis before, but never never this intense, which made it even more how we say, more mysterious, because when you have psoriasis, you kind of get used to the types of flare-ups, right?
Yeah.
Because it kind of repeats. It kind of repeats in the same areas, and you get used to it. But then every now and then, psoriasis can turn really bad, and turn into a way that makes you wonder whether what you're experiencing is the same thing that you have been experiencing for a while. And then you realize, well, maybe this is not the same thing, and you get confused with it. And so you start looking for answers to what's happening to you, and sometimes the answers are not what you're expecting. And for her, she was like, is this really my psoriasis? Is this just my regular psoriasis? Is this something else? And as we were delving with the process, we realized, yes, this is your psoriasis. And what we are seeing, as we were scraping a little bit of it, uh, you have the redness underneath of it. And that's one of the things that happens with psoriasis. So again, if you've never seen psoriasis before, usually what people experience with psoriasis, you get the redness. And this is what the main thing that you see. You see the red patches, irregular shapes. It can happen in dots in different parts of the skin, and then you have the scaliness. If it happens in your hands, it kind of splits open in your hands. Same thing with the sole of your feet. But when it happens on the rest of your skin, basically you get the red patch, and on top of it, you have the scaliness. You have the silver plates on top of it. So basically, that's your common psoriasis. But when it shows on your scalp, it can come in different forms, because sometimes you get a little bit of yellowish buildup on it because of your sebum activity, and even sometimes it may look like it's some type of seborrheic dermatitis, right? So you have, again, you're peeling the layers as you're going through the process, and trying to figure it out what it is. But it's very interesting case.
Also, too, for trichologists navigating psoriasis and seborrheic, because yes, they can often get mixed up in the scalp. Seborrheic has a hue. Like I find with psoriasis, it does have a hue, but more of like a sebaceous hue. Oils on the scalp have a different smell. But with the seborrheic, it has almost like a bitter smell.
Yeah.
So knowing the difference, and as you start seeing it more often, you'll see the differences. So I quite often see a lot of even dermatologists mixing up psoriasis and seborrheic because they don't notice those little cues. And a lot of trained trichologists, we will do the whole sensory checkout of the product to see if it is like with the smell and stuff. So looking and navigating to see. And usually with seborrheic, you'll find it to be consistently red and yellow. With psoriasis, it'll be patchy silver, yellow, and white. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes completely sense. And then the idea is that whenever you are, investigating someone who either has psoriasis or seborrheic dermatitis, you want to break it down to, what's happening, when did it start. And the thing is that usually with a seborrheic dermatitis, I found that most of my patients already had seborrheic dermatitis when in their teenagers, while they were teenagers, and they have like things that resemble the seborrheic dermatitis, but in a very mild manner, while they were teenagers, and they get these flare-ups over time, and it kind of rehab happens and reoccurs again and again and again over time, but it kind of goes stronger every time, or it reaches a certain level and it goes back sometimes, and it goes lighter next. And with psoriasis, I don't know, it's kind of different, and the way it presents itself. And the thing is that usually, again, it's something that you could have for years and not knowing that you already have it until it becomes really bad. So it's kind of hard to tell one from the other. But one of the things that usually gives us, those breakaways where you say, okay, this is psoriasis, this is seborrheic dermatitis. Again, the dandruff activity and the sebum. Usually it's kind of different. But the most important thing that I found to help me identify one from the other, and sometimes you may have both, you may have a psoriasis, but if you want to differentiate one from the other, basically is the type of inflammation. With seborrheic dermatitis, you get like tree branches, red tree branches growing through the scalp. The erythema, basically the scalp erythema that you see is more like branches, or like thunderbolts, you see across the skin. It's like a mesh. And with psoriasis, you will see like little bows, like a loop, like a small loop, like a dot. Sometimes it may look like a dot, and when you look closer, it may look like small loops. And instead of looking like branches, you see those small dots, small red dots all across. And when you see that's when you realize that, okay, this is psoriasis, and the branches are from the seborrheic dermatitis. And that right away, when I learned about differentiating one from the other by using the type of inflammation, that really helped me a lot. But when you have cases like this, when the crust, the dandruff crust is so thick, basically you have no idea what you're dealing with. So you have to start, a cleansing process to try to see what's underneath all that, and that's how you finally uh, get a full diagnosis with this type of case, which is very interesting. You have to peel back the layers, and it is one of those strange cases that you have to go around it and see what's causing it. You see here the pictures on this one. You see the progression. She started on in January of the 2022, and by basically July 2023 is when we got the full coverage. So you see the progression right here. It's kind of amazing, by the way. You see at first that from January to February, you see the hair loss kind of increases, but at the same time, you see that the psoriasis diminishes. When you look at the picture, bottom right and bottom left, you notice that?
Yeah.
You see that the hair loss kind of goes a little bit wider, but at the same time, you see that the scales, that it's not so bright, it's not so white. So you see that it's diminishing.
And sometimes it does get worse before it gets better too. So that makes sense how that looks like that.
Yep. And that was in the first 30 days. So you see that it kind of gets a little bit worse. But then 2 months later, you see amazing coverage, but you see that the hair is very short. Right. So a year afterwards, you see the full length of the hair, and now it looks amazing right there. So it's quite the case.
Now, what did you find what was provoking her psoriasis?
So here's the thing: when we started looking at what caused her psoriasis to flare up like that, was basically stress. She was going through a very stressful process in her life, and that kind of triggered for her. And it's amazing. We talked a lot about stress here at the Hairwire, and particularly you as an epigenetic expert, you talk about the different forms of stress, and people don't realize that stress is something that accumulates in our body. And unless we are able to lower that bar down, so we kind of flush out that tension and that accumulation of electrical signals in our body, it will not go away. Even if you're feeling like you're not stressed out, like you had an event and that was it, and today I feel good, I feel calm, that stress is still high on your body. I need to lower it down. And people don't realize that. And people don't think that, I need to use maybe a stress supplement or to do stress reducing techniques because I'm feeling fine today. It's not just about feeling fine today. It's just that my body is accumulating these signals in my body. And until I flush those signals out of it, they're there. And every new event keeps accumulating until something breaks. And this is what happens to a lot of people. It's not until it hits you with maybe a cardiac arrest, or maybe a stroke, or maybe a big hair shedding, alopecia areata, totalis, universalis. It's not until something bad happens that you realize, okay, I need to take care of my stress. So what do you think about that, Carrie?
Yeah, stress is a huge one. I'm very I study this. I'm actually taking another workshop on stress and trauma, and it's common. A lot of people are like, "Well, I'm not stressed," but if you don't know, if you're so used to living a certain way and accustomed to living a certain way, you don't know the wiser, right? And it's really having to understand and be aware of the different stress factors. So with epigenetics, we examine 4 areas of stress. We examine intake stress, so anything your body absorbs and consumes could cause stress and inflammation. And what happens is when you have too much stress, it causes inflammation. It's the inflammation that causes the restriction and the hair loss, or any of the scalp flare-ups or swollen. I have a lot of people who I see who are struggling to lose weight, and a lot of it, I'm just like, you're not overweight, you're inflamed, you have inflammation. If you target your stress and figure where that's come, you'll shed that. And it's not even weight, it's the size, because you're swelled up. And I've had a lot of friends do a lot of trauma or stress reduction, and now they're losing all the weight. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're reducing that stress factor and that inflammation. And when you have your body's under pressure and stress, you just get bigger and bigger and bigger because the body is compensating. And so when we look at stress, we look at intake stress, something your body absorbs and consumes. And good example, say you eat something you're not supposed to, your belly gets swollen. You're like a big balloon ready to fart,
Yeah.
Listen to your body. Next is emotional stress. So every day, how you cope with stress and you can have two people with the same amount of stress, and depending on how they perceive that stress, one might take on that stress more than the other, and that stress too will in turn factor and cause inflammation in the body, triggering a spike in hair shed, hair loss. Residual stress, so stress that you haven't addressed. And this is one of my, one big one that happened a lot during COVID. We saw a spike in hair loss, and yeah, there was other factors involved, but the majority of it I found is people actually had to sit in their shit, excuse my language. And a lot of it triggered old things that they had pushed in the closet and totally forgot about, but there was a lot of things that triggered for it to come forward. And that spiked a lot of alopecia areata, which I was not surprised with my background. And a lot of people in epigenetics I've talked to said they were not surprised too, because people actually had time to sit and be quiet and listen to their own thoughts and work through that trauma. And then the fourth one is physical stress. And physical stress could be anything from getting into a car accident to even the way you hold your body. As women like myself, I were taught to be modest, so I hunch over. And where we should be standing tall, shoulders straight. So I'm hunched over, hiding myself, and then I'm going on a computer. And now I'm migrating into the caveman pose. And so yeah, it is a caveman pose. and then it causes restriction, especially in your shoulders, causing a hard time for your body for breathing and so forth. It has a big ripple effect. And so until you're aware of where those stress factors are coming, you can have a lot of inflammation happening with psoriasis, hair loss, telogen, effluvium. So it's critical that you really understand stress. And a lot of times, especially in hair loss, which sucks, and anything in medical, we don't go to the root of the problem. We just put a Band-Aid on it and color a day and have a quick fix, but it doesn't fix it long term. And then finally, when that Band-Aid stops working, everything goes back to the way it was. So it's, that's why we're always stressing, go to the root of the problem. And no pun intended, we get to the root of it.
I mean, that's our job, to get to the root of things. But sometimes getting to the root of things can be quite complicated, because patients, when they come to see you for their hair loss, they are expecting to come out with complete answers. And sometimes you're not going to get full answers on the first visit. Sometimes it will need a couple of visits till we figure it out what it is that we're seeing. And I understand that, it can be quite upsetting for a lot of people. I mean, people get the same reaction when they go to their regular doctors. They go to their doctors. I believe I have this, but my doctor has like 20 more questions, and they're sending me to do multiple tests. And I come with the first round of tests and nothing. And then he sends me to do more tests. And I come again and nothing, and more tests. And now he's sending me to another specialist, and still trying to figure it out what it is that you have. So the same thing happens for us in the trichology business. And you know I ask my patients sometimes, you have to be patient with me because what I'm seeing right now is very confusing. I have so many signals right now, and they all look the same. They look like, you may have alopecia, androgenetic alopecia, and you may look like you're receding on the frontal hairline. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it is androgenetic alopecia, but then again, it could be frontal fibrosing alopecia. It could be a type of if it's on the both on the same side at the same time. It could also be alopecia areata. It can happen. Sometimes things may look like one or the other, and many others trichologists will be like, "Oh, alopecia areata is easy to spot." Um, if you've been around, you know that not every time is very easy to spot. If you've been around, you know that sometimes some types of hair loss are very tricky to identify, particularly when they are on the early stages. When it's completely expressed, you get the complete circle. Of course, that's easy to spot. But when it's starting, not so easy to spot sometimes. And even the shape can be confusing. And for instance, if you have, for instance, in alopecia areata, if you have the same bald spot on both sides in the same area, makes you wonder a lot of things because alopecia areata, rarely you see the same bald spot on the same place on both sides.
Very
So,
rarely. I have
yeah,
yet to see it.
and it can happen.
It can happen, absolutely. But the chances of that are like it's
Yeah,
very
very, very slim.
yeah,
Very slim. But the thing is, you have to be open as a scientist to possibilities, and you can never close a door down because you are too narrow-minded about what you're seeing. You have to open up to possibilities, and you have to think, okay, I cannot be so obscured, to think that it is just this and not something else. So you have to be open about possibilities until you definitely see what's going down. And this is very hard because again, a lot of trichologists will start making recommendations right from the get-go. And we have a job to do. We have to provide a service. We have to provide a treatment plan. But at the same time, if what I'm seeing, I'm not sure. For instance, let me go back to the picture. And this lady, when I started seeing her, I remember, okay, am I going to be using a seborrheic dermatitis type of shampoo, or am I going to be using a psoriasis type of shampoo? You know what I did? I used both. I told her to alternate, to use one day the psoriasis shampoo and the next day to use the seborrheic dermatitis shampoo, because I did not know what I was dealing with until that thick crust of dandruff finally came down and I was able to see her scalp. When I was able to see her scalp, I was like, now I know what I have. All right, I have a full psoriasis that kind of resemble a type of seborrheic dermatitis, but it was just psoriasis. All right, so we moved then to the psoriasis type of shampoo, to the psoriasis type of regime. But what I did is I used what was similar on both. So we needed to remove that thick crust that was given, and I needed to hydrate the area because of the scaliness. So the things that did not conflict, I would put into use for that type of case. So I needed to also reduce the inflammation, because either on psoriasis or seborrheic dermatitis, you need to deal with the inflammation. Of course, the source of the inflammation might be different. So attending to that, it's kind of tricky. But if you are working on the outside, if I'm using a anti-inflammatory solution, it might be the same solution, but on the inside is what changes basically, because depending on the source of where it comes from, then I would change the treatment. For instance, in seborrheic dermatitis, we know that the source is the basically the pH level on the sebum is what's driving this inflammation. All right.
Mhm.
With psoriasis, it's just the inflammation from within the skin because of how the basically how the immune system is creating this type of inflammation, which is very different. Actually, I was seeing that there was a new medication that came out for psoriasis recently. Basically, they are being driven by Janus kinase type of inhibitors, and it was kind of interesting to see that we in the dermatology realm they're considering Janus kinase inhibitors to treat psoriasis as well as for alopecia areata. So there's a lot of similarities in the both of those, and that's why I get to see, that in this case it kind of resembles a type of alopecia areata, but at the same time it wasn't. Because again, there's a lot of similarities from one profile to the other, and it's
Interesting.
quite amazing.
Huh.
I know, I know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see, how dermatology is approaching psoriasis and alopecia areata nowadays, and it's quite amazing to realize how similar are one to the other, except to the expression, because one will cause the alopecia areata, the other will cause for the skin to flare up and create this type of thick dandruff. And sometimes it comes very light, but for the the heavy cases, it definitely is going to be thick.
Yeah.
So, again, what we did for this woman, because I know you're wondering, you've been like, Sergeant, you've been talking for 30 minutes and you have never told me what it is that you did for this woman. Hey, it's all about, the story. So we're telling the story here. So let me go back to these pictures. Again, the bottom right picture, you see on top, the top of the head, how thin that hair looks. The bottom right picture, 122, 22. And of course, you see by February, although the longer hair was, she shed most of the longer hair, you see that there's a lot of new sprout on February. The 2/19/2022 picture,
Yeah.
see in the bottom, but you see on the side that the kind of hair, the new growth kind of spiking out a bit. See that?
Yeah.
And you notice that the scalp looks clear in terms of the dandruff. When you see the top thick dandruff that you see on the top, you don't see it on February. Now, when we go to April, now on April, my gosh, that hair is getting there. The dandruff is gone, and a year later, she's doing highlights. She has her confidence mode back. All right, that's what's kicking in. But it's in terms of treatment. Again, what I started on January with her, we were about cleaning, a deep cleansing process with high potency hydration treatments. That was what we were doing on the outside. And from the inside, I was just trying to work with the stress and try to work with, I like, for instance, William Gannett's Advanced Trichology EFA Complete is a omega 369 solution that they have developed. And this solution is a very powerful anti-inflammatory solution. And I like to use it a lot because it's more in tune for scalp and skin problems, inflammation type of solution. So I was moving into that direction. I was working with the anti-inflammatory, the omega 369. I was using 5-HTP for the stress, which worked like a charm for this woman. And we were also addressing hair stimulation. So we were using a Nutrafol serum for the hair stimulation for her. And for the shampoos, the one for psoriasis was Neutrogena's T gel, and for the seborrheic dermatitis, which I thought was seborrheic dermatitis at the same time, I used ketoconazole 2%. So I was switching from T gel to ketoconazole. So she was using every other day one of the shampoos. And alongside, I combined a second shampoo with a moisturizing shampoo with a moisturizing conditioner and a moisturizing leave-in conditioner. So we can provide that moisture back to the scalp. So that's what we started doing at the beginning. Then by February, when we finally got, that scalp pretty cleared, that's when we started using microneedling to stimulate hair growth. And we started using steam, the hair steamer with her. And we were also using microdermabrasion systems at the office once a month to keep clearing out the dandruff from her scalp. And after that, after you clear out the dandruff and you're able to work with the inflammation on the outside as well as on the inside, it's a given. You will start seeing hair growth afterwards because of it, and it's quite amazing. Again, you see both sides. What I was telling you, when you look at the temple area, it happened on the both sides.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. I forgot I had both pictures here. And again, from the top, you see what's going on. But it's quite something when you see, the full pictures from when she started till when she finished. And it's quite an amazing result. And she's a happy camper. She's a happy lady right now. She's a happy customer.
You got a good testimonial from her?
Yeah. I mean, she's a fan. She's a fan. She has brought us so many clients afterwards. But again, the key with her was, to organize my treatment plan, not going crazy, and just, taking a few steps extra. For instance, because I was not sure whether I was dealing with seborrheic dermatitis and psoriasis, so I decided to tackle both at the same time. Once the scalp, the dandruff was receding and I was able to take a better look at the scalp, then that's when I switched gears. And that's when we start seeing the progression going faster on the second and fourth month of the treatment plan. Because now we know what we're dealing with. Now we can pick up the pace and go faster into the process, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, with these cases, I hope we could I know we talked about this, but bring more cases, because I know with hair loss, a lot of people coming in have, questions, and sometimes there are the odd case. I'd love to make this a regular thing with cases, just because, if somebody's experienced this, doesn't mean somebody else doesn't either. So
yeah,
this is great.
I know. Usually when I document cases, I usually don't take so many pictures, but in this one, I have the full workup. and usually, most of my cases, they come to the first consultation, the second, maybe the third, and since they get all the hair back, they're gone. You don't see them again, and you don't get to document the full case years afterwards. So it's kind of interesting. For instance, maybe I have another case here. Let me check here. A particular case with alopecia areata, and she came back a couple years afterwards. And let me see if I can get the picture. But it's amazing. It's amazing when you're able to document a case and you're able to, this one.
Wow.
When you see the growth, of course, that's not the growth of a full couple of months. That's about a year and a half, 2 years of hair length. You know,
great.
it's not, yeah, it's not, but it's about the recovery because she has so many bald spots. And once she recovered, um, you know, she then came back to after 2 years, and she came back because something else. And I was able to, you know, take a picture and finally put that before and after, because she didn't came after she got her hair back. And you know that's one of the things that happens a lot for us in the industry. Sorry about that. I have another picture of her. Let me see if I
Sergio,
can.
while you show this, there's chaos at my house right now. I'll be right back.
All right. Here's the other picture that I got from her, and you see that frontal section again. Amazing recovery, but this was again alopecia areata. And because you see the short hairs, you'll be like, well, is it really alopecia areata? Well, yes, it is. It is alopecia areata. It's just that the shape is so irregular that you don't think that you're dealing with alopecia areata. And the thing is that you have to work through the process. Now, I'm seeing here a lot of comments here. Hello to my peeps. Yeah. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're amazing. But by the way, you guys have to look at Nadia Hughes. Her results are amazing and then some. So you have to follow Nadia. She's an amazing tricologist. And what you're doing, Nadia, with scarring alopecia is something out of this world, woman. You're something else. You're something else. Yes, you are. I don't know. But you know, you see, again, I was lucky to have this client come back, you know, 2 years afterwards, because after we got her covered, and you know, she was so happy about it, and finally came back because of something else. I was able to take the picture, so I'm glad that she did, because unfortunately, a lot of patients, you know, they come and go, and they forgot, you know, to come to their to the next meeting to you know, to make sure that we got everything, and of course to document things properly. But you know, that's the way sometimes people go. You know, they just decide to run off and maybe come back again some later time. But those are the type of things that happen maybe with alopecia areata. Now, in this type of case, usually when I have alopecia areata, coyotes.
We have coyotes and cougars right now everywhere, and so you hear dogs going crazy because they come in behind my house, in the field. Yeah, you have to watch dogs because they will go and take your dogs and your cats. So it is
Oh my
coyote
God.
and cougar season for us. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? I was wondering if it was my neighbor's dog because they were going crazy. Yeah, but the neighbors love
Oh
the
my.
dog. I live in a residential area. I have this is my home office. I'm in a residential area. The cougars and the coyotes walk the neighborhood, so we don't let the kids out certain times. You have to watch dogs, and like the coyotes are constantly turning on our like the sensor lights will turn on, and it's usually coyotes roaming everywhere. So yeah,
Hey, it happens. It happens. So
you guys are scared. You guys have sharks. We have cougars. So we have real cougars and female cougars. We have both.
that's crazy. That's
They're
crazy.
beautiful cats. They are absolutely beautiful. But yeah. So that's why I had to run because the dog's neighbor was going crazy. What the hell is going on? So yeah, we're good.
We're good. We're back. We're back. So again, Carrie, what do you think about this recovery of alopecia areata?
That's insane. That's beautiful.
And
Yeah,
I didn't show you the pictures from front, right? The frontal section. You got to see those?
I
No,
did. Yeah, I
you
did.
did.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I've seen these photos be like you showed me these before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is amazing, you know, that you have the peach fuzz type of hair coming out of those alopecia areata, and sometimes people they don't think about alopecia areata because you're seeing that peach fuzz type of hair, and you know it is an alopecia and it is in an area. So yes, you have alopecia areata right there. But some colleagues they get confused sometimes because they're expecting to be completely bald without any piece of hair. And if they look with a scope, they're looking for exclamation point type of hair or fire type of hair. Sometimes you don't get to see that. It's one of the signs, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be there. And for her, what we were seeing was no exclamation points. It was like short hairs on the area. And maybe they be regrowth. Maybe they are regrowth. But at the time when she came, it looked like some other type of alopecia, and we treated her, and she never came back because she got her hair back until a couple of years afterwards, and that's when I took the pictures again. But again, you see perfect coverage, and thank God, till this day, that woman has never experienced alopecia areata since then. And that's one of the other things with alopecia areata. People don't realize that alopecia areata is something that can manifest itself once in a lifetime for about 70% of cases. And with people with alopecia areata, only 30% they get, it happens again. For all about 30% of cases. 70% of cases, if you had alopecia areata, chances are you're never going to have it again. So good odds for people experiencing alopecia areata. We have a question here. Sorry. Is IBS and hair loss connected? Would you like to take that question?
Yeah, absolutely. IBS, if you have IBS, and depending on what's causing the IBS, and if you investigate what is triggering your IBS, it can cause inflammation and gut health issues. And if your gut is under a lot of stress, causing inflammation, and especially when it's chronic stress, yes, that can trigger hair loss, especially when it's a chronic state. Typically, when you have chronic stress from inflammation, through IBS, what it will do is it will cause stress on the overall body. It will cause stress on the gut system to decide where nutrients need to be going, and it will hinder hair growth. It will provoke hair loss. Yeah, it's all connected.
Definitely. Whenever we have gastrointestinal issues, as Carrie was mentioning, they can cause hair loss. And the problem basically with IBS and any other type of gastrointestinal issues is that, you're taking good food, you're taking vitamins, and they're not getting into your system. So how can you get nourished if the nutrients that your body is taking are not being absorbed?
Yeah.
And if they're not being absorbed, then chances are that your nutrition is lacking, and because of it, definitely your hair is going to be gone. Because you have to understand that hair is basically the first place that gets cut off when nutrients are scarce in our body. The chain of command says that you have to protect the heart, you have to protect the lungs, you have to protect the brain. But when everything else goes under stress, first thing that you cut is hair, basically. Yep. Nadia's saying dysbiosis is a real thing. Yes, it is, and affects the full body, not only the hair. That's the whole thing, because nutritional impact that it has on the gut, on our health, is amazing. And you're not getting the nutrients, period. And if you're not getting the nutrients, no matter what you do, unfortunately, there's going to be consequences to it. So I would say if you're experiencing IBS or any type of gastrointestinal issue, I would recommend to try to do a proper detox and to rebuild that gut by using the right probiotics and pre-probiotics in a sequence, so you can build on that on your gut, and that will allow your body to basically start getting the nutrients properly, the ones that you're eating, the ones that you're getting from, of course, your supplements. And what Carrie just showing us, this link right here, if you go to thehairwire.com//shop/Viome, that's forward slash, or the regular slash? No, that's slash. Sorry. My English today is not kicking in. Sorry. My Spanish is kind of troubling back in the back of my tongue. So If you go to the link, thehairwire.com shop/shop/Viome, this test is an amazing test. It's a stool test and it will allow you to understand what's happening with your gut.
And you can do it all at home in the privacy of your own home.
Yes, yes, it's an amazing test, and it will provide with what bacteria are missing in your gut and which ones you need to replenish, and they provide a system to help you navigate through the process and provide with the essential nutrients to basically rebuild that microbiome on your gut and finish with the dysbiosis that it's kicking in. So amazing tool. Thank you, Carrie, for bringing that out.
Yeah, and another one which I could also talk about too is if with IBS, and the reason I talk about IBS so much is I have celiac disease, so I do a lot of food testing for myself. Is notice what you're eating within a 2-week ratio. If you have an inflammation of IBS, and be like, what did I eat differently, or what did I have more of than I normally do the last 2 weeks, and to start investigating that and see if that's what's triggering your IBS. Because usually when you have IBS, it's a food that you're consuming or stress factor that is affecting you that is causing that IBS. And so once you become more aware of that trigger, you could be more prepared to avoid those triggers to prevent IBS. So it's really good to be very self-aware of what you're consuming mentally and physically, so that way you could, be more preventative with IBS. Because the thing is if you have IBS, you're having inflammation of the gut, and it's something that is causing that inflammation. And yes, it is good to also go and heal that IBS, because sometimes your gut does need some support to heal itself as well. But it is eliminating those triggers too, which is a good start, because you could be doing the healing process. However, if you're still eating or having something that's provoking the IBS, you're kind of being counterintuitive as well.
Definitely. Hey, we have people jumping in today, so give the thumbs up, and you have comments, please bring them up, because we want to know. We want to know who's out there, and of course, if you have any questions, we want to answer them for you, because I know that this is a very fascinating topic that we have today. I know you guys like to know what it is that we do. It's not a magic trick. It's just science, guys. Again, as we were mentioned in the beginning, it's about an investigation process. And once we have the information in front of us, how we choose to treat it is essential what we do. So we have another question here about what essential oils can I use to bring down the scalp itching. I like a lot, for instance, lavender. I love lavender as an anti-inflammatory solution, and for the itching. Also, tea tree oil. I like to use tea tree oil. Now, whenever you use essential oils, you have to remember that you have to dilute them into a carrier oil. And whenever you use essential oils to your scalp, try to use them 30 minutes before you wash your hair so you can massage them properly, and then use your combination of shampoos and conditioners afterwards. I would not recommend to use more than 3 times a week essential oil therapy to the scalp. So a lot of people like to do the blend of tea tree oil, rosemary oil, and lavender. You could also add sage to the mixture, and probably use avocado oil or olive oil as your carrier oil. And what?
Chamomile.
Oh yes, chamomile. Yes, that's a calming one. Chamomile. Yes.
Now, one thing with itch, I need to stress is a lot of times when people itch, they want to scratch. You don't want to scratch, because you could scratch the skin, causing open wounds. You could also spread if there's something going on. So go and tap. That will help, or put pressure and move the skin. So essentially how you're putting in, and see how I'm moving that skin. Look at all my wrinkly skin. But I'm not scratching. What I'm doing is putting pressure on the layer of the skin and helping. That will also help control the itch or the tapping. But do not scratch.
I like to recommend use the knuckles instead of using the nails.
Yeah.
Go knuckles. Friction rather than just scratching. Or please avoid using sharp tools. Pencils, pens, knives, forks, anything like that. Please avoid that. I see that constantly, and people they like to use like the rat comb, uh, rat tail comb, uh, to scratch their head. Avoid pointy things.
Yeah.
Avoid those pointy things. You want something more of a blunt tip. Like for instance, if you have a brush with a round tip brush, you can use that for massaging your scalp, and definitely is a lot better than using something sharp. Yeah, and I know I see a lot of people that use the round brush because the tips can be a bit sharp, and they like to use that to scratch their head. And again, you want to use something more to massage rather than to scratch, because by scratching you're taking away parts of the skin off, and you want to avoid that. All right. I've been talking for about an hour, guys. This is it. We have to go.
Yeah.
we have things to do today.
If you guys have questions, please submit them. Put them in the comments below. We do check our comments on a regular basis. And also, too, if you have any more cases, maybe you are a trichologist with a case that you're wanting input on too, please submit them to us. We would love to have that on. And maybe before we go, we have one more question, and then we'll call her. Yeah.
What is a good vitamin D level for best hair growth? What's your take on that?
Sun. Go in the sun, at least 20 minutes a day of natural sun exposure. I live in the far, far north of Canada, where it is hot in the summer and freakishly cold in the winter. I still try to get 20 minutes a day of exposure to my scalp, just to get enough vitamin D. But 20 minutes seems to be the standard of natural. But if you do have to take a supplement, it varies. If I'm getting, a certain amount of sunlight outside, I might take 500 MU, but if I'm not and I'm inside all day, I might triple that. But I'm also, depends on where you are too, right? And your body type. I consider a lot of those factors of the genetic makeup of the person too. So what do you have? What's your input on that?
For instance, what I like is about 70 nanograms per milliliter. That's basically what I'm aiming for. Again, anything between 50 to 70 is good, but I like to keep it somewhere close to 70 nanograms per milliliter. That will give you, a good balance in terms of, what's healthy for hair growth. Plus, vitamin D is one of those master vitamins because it helps with the immune system. It helps again with how we manage fatty acids in our body. Is a vitamin
or emotional state.
Yeah. The thing is, vitamin D is a hormone, is a vitamin, is a protein, is an enzyme, is so many things at the same time. So it's one of those master molecules in the body. So having a good amount of it is essential. Now, if you go over 150, that's toxic. That's when it becomes dangerous. So you want to keep it level. So in terms of which level, I would say 70 nanograms per milliliter. And the best way to take vitamin D is through the sun.
20 minutes a day.
Yep. That will do the trick.
Yep.
That will do the trick. But of course, beware of neighbors, as they can get too curious about why you take sun in the way you do. All right, I'm out of here. I'm go full moon on people, all right? Beware of your neighbors.
Too funny.
Yeah, I say that to my patients every time. If you want to go to the sun, you want to be as exposed as possible, but beware of your neighbors. Please do so.
The one Mr. showed us the butthole.
Yeah. All right, we go. We're out of here. We'll see you next week, guys. God bless you all. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.